Hey everyone, it's Mike here, Global Voodoo, and we got a special guest here tonight. We got Pete, the Craigslist Hunter, in the house. Want to do a special show here tonight for you guys. That if you haven't been following Craigslist Hunter, this guy's got a wealth of knowledge, and if you've been watching for a while, he's on the Pete, and Andrew Picking Profits. We're on a show every Tuesday on Picking Profits channel, where we just talk about different stuff, resellers roundtable. But Pete's a Chicago guy, and as you guys have known, I'm from Chicago, so I figured, I got to talk more to Pete and get into his head here. And we've got a bunch of questions from you guys. If you have questions out there for Pete, just leave them in the comment section over there. But yeah, let's get into here, Pete. First off, man, how's things going, man? What's new with you here on a Sunday?
Hey, what's up, Mike? Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it. Sunday, beautiful day, 63 degrees in Chicago. I've been waiting for this kind of weather forever, forever. People are riding their bikes outside and just waiting for everything to get green and start those garage sales, man.
For sure, man. I mean, that's the crazy thing here. It's like there's garage sales all the time, but then there's those summer months where it's so hot and it's like almost impossible to go out and nobody's really having garage sales. But you got to be stoked about just getting ready. It's springtime. It's getting ready to be summer. I mean, it's just got to be awesome for you. I mean, you were saying it was 60 out there and you were walking around. Just there's nothing like that in that Chicago when the seasons breaks, right, man? I mean, it's freaking cool.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. The sun, almost all the snow melted because it's been around 40, 50, 60 degrees for the last few days, and it's just wonderful. You're walking around in a t-shirt and you're thinking it's already like, 85 out here because such a quick change and you feel so good. And yeah, I'm excited for this coming up new season. So
That's awesome. Well, let's jump into some questions here, man. There's a bunch of stuff that we're gonna go over here. This first question is from Steve Brown. He says he's got a question for Pete, the Craigslist Hunter. How does he go about looking for items on Craigslist? Do you have a list of items that you always search for? Do you have set up watch lists? Do you have just you get on and surf around? When he surfs around, it's always taking down different rabbit trails, man. Can you describe like your process of how you approach Craigslist and the whole nine yards there?
yeah, I mean, I got kind of two different ways that I go about Craigslist. I got my kind of specialty items that I always look after, items that go the items that I'm going to be buying strictly for the shop, which is mainly, furniture, appliances, and my guys are kind of used to the routine that when there's slow times in a shop, they're pounding the Craigslist nonstop looking for things, especially for items like that. Me, myself, when I search on Craigslist, I look for those more unique, different items. Um, I will I will go to the sections, barter sections that a lot of people don't look for because people just don't want to, barter. They just want to sell things. They want to get money. But you can find some awesome things in the barter section. And since I got so much stuff that a lot of times I can offer people, they're looking for this and that, and they got a cool item, you know, I'll send them a picture of that item. Hey, this is what I got. You want to barter? I'll throw some cash on top, and that way I find a lot of cool items because not many people are searching that particular section in Craigslist. And then another big thing that I have bunch of wanted ads out there all the time that we renew on almost daily basis. With couple different phone numbers. I'll have my cell number there, shop number, my partner will have his number, and we'll go for different categories. That, for example, one ad will say that we are just looking for antiques. Another ad will be we are looking for hot vintage items from 70s and 80s. Or another ad will say we're looking for tools only, power tools. And the phone is ringing, and people actually check those wanted ads and the phone, and we can screen it pretty good. When the phone call comes in, we ask just a few simple questions right away. We know what it is and if it's worth setting up appointments and going after those items. But they work extremely well. If any of you guys just watch my recent video that I put out a couple days ago, which possibly might be one of the biggest hauls that I'm going to do this year. This was exactly from one of those ads. This guy found me on a wanted ad that I was looking for antiques. He called me up, I made an appointment, went out there. A couple days later, kaboom, man, this could be the biggest score this year, really. And we're still working out the details. If you guys want to check out the video, go to my channel and check it out. But yeah, that's how I find and that's how I work the Craigslist to my advantage. I love Craigslist. I always did. I mean, I've been on Craigslist for a long time, you know, since late 1990s, you know, when it came out and became popular. I love that platform. I sell a ton of stuff on it. I buy a ton of stuff. And don't get me wrong, some of these people, you know, just fly by nights. You know, they put an ad, you call them, they never respond. You make an appointment, you go up, they're never home. But that's part of the Craigslist. That's the nature of the beast. You know, you just got to deal with it. And I'll try to. I usually what I'll do when I have appointments set up, and I'm about 45 minutes to an hour from a city. A lot of these pickups will be, let's say, in a city because most of these people are advertising on Craigslist. It's a huge population, right, of Chicago. So I'll try to set it up so I have at least 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 appointments if we can set it up like that. So I know if I have 1 or 2 busts, I didn't go for nothing, you know. 20 minutes later, I'm at another appointment meeting somebody else. And when I'm on the road, my partner will be nonstop also online looking for different stuff as well because he knows I'm, let's say, out up north or in a city. And he'll shoot me leads. Hey, call this guy. He's got computer for sale. Call this guy. He's got some tools. You know, so it's when I'm out there, I'm hustling all day long, and that's how I try to set it up so I don't waste my time.
So, like, I mean, you have a shop, Pete, at the buy-sell trade deal. When you're putting these Craigslist want ads out there, are you using your shop phone number, or do you have another number that's driven directly to get these people to call, like a cell phone number or Google Voice?
No, we use 3 numbers. We use the shop number, depending on an ad. For example, as you know, and many people know, I love like vintage electronics, right? I love that stuff. I just anytime I see anything like that, I just go crazy. So if there's an ad for vintage electronics that we have out there, my phone will be ringing, obviously, because I know a lot about it if somebody calls. If somebody calls, let's say, something with the tools or any kind of items that are related to, for example, construction or any construction equipment and stuff, my partner will have that number. He's got a lot of knowledge in that field, you know. If it's just a general, like antiques or for example, appliances, those people will be directed to the shop because my guys can handle some of the simple questions when somebody calls and make the appointments with them. A lot of times it's all about the appointments too. You know, not necessarily I got to talk to them right away. They'll schedule an appointment, I'll call them back, either reschedule it or go just straight there. So, you know, I get a lot of help from my guys that work in the shop. But yeah, but we use probably 3, 4 numbers, you know, all the time.
So, Pete, there was a question here from somebody, Mr. Sadie, big supporter, probably like the #1 supporter of this channel since like day one. He wants to know how many employees do you have, and do you have seasonal employees? I know we were talking privately before we did this here, and you were talking about really amping up for garage sale season.
Yeah, I in the shop. There's me, my partner Adrian, and we got 3 full-time employees and one part-time employee. And when the summer comes, the spring right now comes, we'll also have 1 more part-timer coming in on the weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sundays, those days are extremely busy for us in the shop. And then I'll have 1 more guy. Maybe this year we are actually thinking that we might get 2 extra guys that just hustle for us on garage sales. Because I really need to hit those garage sales hard. And I mean hard because last year we thought we hit them hard and I had a lot of merchandise. and by Christmas time I was done. So, those would be kind of extra employees that we're going to pick up. And the way this works, guys that actually we know and we deal already kind of on regular basis that come in and they sell us stuff in a shop, but they always ask us what we're looking for, what's hot right now, and they'll go out there, and buy stuff for us and just bring it to the shop, and we just give it, as long as they make a little bit of profit on it, they're not greedy. If they're hustling for us Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they'll come back with a full truck of stuff, and it could be all kinds of stuff. And if they pay $1 for something, I'll give them $2. They'll double their money, and then maybe I can flip it for $4. I mean, that's the whole idea, just bringing in constantly merchandise. But yeah, full-time employees, 3 full-time employees in the shop, and a couple part-timers.
So these guys that go out and they're hustling for you, they're looking for the garage sale stuff. Are you giving them lists of like things to look for, or are they experienced enough where they're like, hey, they can realize a deal when they see one?
They're pretty experienced. That's what I like. I mean, and occasionally they'll give me a call directly, and they're gonna say, Pete, I'm right here. I'm looking at this. Do you want it? But they want this much and this much. You think it's worth our time and it's worth me picking this up? And they're always concerned too that they want to make a few dollars and leave me enough meat on a bone, so I'm gonna make some money. But yeah, they're pretty experienced. They've been doing this for a while, so they're not just bringing me random stuff that I gotta donate later.
Yeah. Here's another question for you, Pete, from Steve Brown. How would you train the guys to hustle the garage sales? I mean, obviously we were talking about these guys have an idea, but are you providing them with all the information? Like, hey, I want you to go hit Hoffman Estates this Saturday or this Friday afternoon, and here's a budget. I mean, can you go into a little in depth on that? I mean, obviously, you got your shop there, you got a lot of traffic that comes through there, and you're, like you said, you sourced last year and everything was sold out before Christmas time. Do you find yourself like, I mean, how would you train these people? Let's say you couldn't find somebody with experience. What would you tell these guys and say, hey, I'm looking for Legos or I'm looking for tools. They got to be Snap-on. I mean, just a kind of a quick overview of that.
Or for example, one guy that I use, and he's been with us off and on for quite some time. Very knowledgeable. Has been in the business probably for good 10 years, and he knows exactly what I'm looking for. But the second guy that we are using, and I'm going to bring him on board kind of more full-time this season, he's learning. Last year, he's been to garage sales with me quite a few times. He kind of knows what I'm looking for. But he also has a list of like the main things that I'm looking for. Especially some of the brand names, if he spots, some guy that is selling a bunch of tools, he's not going to be picking up everything that it's there, okay? He's looking for specific brands. It's got to be the Milwaukee, it's got to be Bosch, it's got to be Bostitch, it's got to be a Makita, I don't want Craftsman anymore. I don't want the Ryobi. I don't want the cheapy stuff because that stuff just sits forever. And so, yeah, it's a learning process for them. It's extremely hard to train somebody. But they, I give them kind of walkthrough too, and they see what's in a shop, what we have on shelves, and they see what kind of merchandise, sells good or what doesn't sell good. For example, let's say I'm gonna tell them go after video games because we are short on video games. They gotta be very, very selective because for example, I might have a single game that it's popular, but it's already on my shelf, and I got 7 copies of that game. Well, I don't need him to pick up another 2 or 3 copies because I already have some here. So he'll either text the shop here or he'll have a list. Before he goes out, he'll come in, he'll write down, okay, they got only 1 game left of this, this is very popular game, this is not, so it's like every week constant process of keeping up everybody up to date, what we are looking for. And of course they find all these gems too that, they'll pick it up with no question about it, especially the older games, the Nintendo 64s. Those, I even tell them, if you see a bundle of Nintendo 64 games, just grab the whole thing. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's going to be at least 1, 2, 3 gems good in there, and the rest of it we'll get our money back, you know. So
Speaking of video games, I mean, when I was in Cary, which Cary is the next town over from Crystal Lake, where your shop's at, I did really well with video games locally and through the shop there. Are you seeing that movement from these younger generations, these early 20s, even possibly kids younger than that coming to your shop looking for video games?
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. I got young kids coming in and looking for, the Sega systems, the Nintendo 64s. They want these games. Um, Super popular. I don't think I sell Nintendo 64, even if in rough condition with couple controls, cheaper than $50 in my shop.
Hmm.
And those 16-year-olds will pick it up, no question asked. Um, I got a list of people. We keep a list of people actually that look for certain stuff, especially Nintendo 64 games. If something comes in, we'll call them up and we'll tell them, hey, this is what came in. Give them a list. New 10 games came in, and they'll be like, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So yeah, that stuff is hot and very popular right now.
So you've got that buy list already. You've got those people that already came in your shop and said, "Hey, Pete, if you come across the Super Mario World, call me." Because that's what I had. I was doing a lot of video games and action figures. I had a lot of Star Wars, a lot of vintage GI Joes, and you'd always get these people to come in there and they'd see the selection and say, "Hey, by the way, if you ever come across this thing, I'd be interested." And that's the power of having a shop, because then it's like, okay, cool. And I just had a master list, and they got to a point where it was a notebook and just had people's names and what they wanted, and so then that's the stuff I was always looking for, because anytime you can do stuff locally, I mean, you're avoiding the fees through the eBays and the Amazons of the world. I mean, wouldn't you agree? I mean, obviously you're paying taxes, but it's a huge advantage, and you can make a little bit more money than it would be selling some of the stuff online.
Yeah, and it's not even that what I'll do with my list, for example, and I probably, if I would pull up my list, I got probably, I'm not kidding you, 1,000 people on that list waiting for
Oh,
different
wow.
stuff. And some of the stuff might be already outdated because somebody signed up 6 months ago that they were looking, for example, Nikon digital camera D90, and
Hmm.
nothing came in within the last 6 months to the shop. And maybe if it would come in today and I call them up, they might tell me, Pete, I already bought one. But
Hmm.
sometimes if it's something really profitable, meaning that I can go and look for that item, somebody will come in and said, like I had a guy a couple weeks ago, he says, Pete, season is starting. I'm looking for this concrete mixer. He's a contractor. He buys a lot of tools from me. He gave me all the information, what he's looking for. If it's not this model, I want this model. If it's not this brand, I want this brand. And he says, if you get one, give me a call. I'm like, well, how much you were willing to pay? And he says, I'll give you $1,200 if you find one. New one is about $2,400. Well, guess what? As soon as he walked out the door, I told my guys, this is the info on a sheet right here. You guys are looking for this equipment everywhere, okay?
Hmm.
Everywhere locally, everywhere that I can drive up to 2 hours. 2 days later, they found one. I picked one up for $600. I called him up. I brought it into the shop. He came in, and we settled on $950.
With,
And
with
that's
that
the
there,
beauty of the
that's
list.
incredible. With that there, did you have a price point? Like when he said, "Hey, I'm looking for a cement mixer," did you say, "Hey, what's the price point? What would you pay for one?" I mean, that way you get an understanding of how to buy one, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I asked him. How much you willing to pay? And he told me that he's willing to spend up to $1,200 on it. And right away, I knew if I find one, what I can spend one, and what possibly is my profit, and how much time was involved in it. So yeah, I mean, we did a quick flip like that. A couple days later, my guys found it. I went. Guy wanted like $800. I was able to knock it down, and I got it for $600. Brought it in here. He came in, loved it. It was in good condition. We settled on 950. There was 350 bucks profit, and it's all locally, you know. So that's the beauty of that
Yeah.
list too. That not only people are waiting on it, But when they tell me, and if I see that it's something worth pursuing, we'll go looking for that stuff for them, you know?
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, that's just taking action to it. It's like, okay, you got a buyer, sitting here right in front of you. You got his phone number, you got all his information, and if you just sit around and say, well, I don't know when a cement mixer is going to roll in my shop. No, you took action and went and found one. And I think that's important to a lot of people that are understanding like how your mind works and how your business works. Is you're taking action. You've got somebody on the hook. They're like, hey, I'm ready to go. Just find me this, Pete, and you're looking for it. So you're just not. I mean, you're doing a lot of different things, but it's that right there, that little extra hustle to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go look for this damn thing because I got a buyer here. Awesome. Hey, here's a question here, Pete. We were talking briefly about your last video. If you guys, like I said, if you guys aren't subscribed to Craigslist Hunter Pete, there'll be a link down below after the show, but just type in Craigslist Hunter, you'll find him. It's from Steve Napier here. I wanted to know the status of the finds that you found on that Craigslist, and the man who wants to sell everything and move to Florida. He wanted $7K. Pete was going to think about it. Some real cool stuff. So kind of give an idea here, because you did post a video and it said it was part 1. So I'm assuming there's a part 2 coming here. But if you can enlighten some of the viewers on what's happening with that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I don't want to spoil the part 2. I'm just gonna say this: we are still working out the details. There's a lot more stuff there that you guys saw in a video. A lot of very interesting pieces, pieces that we are dealing on individual basis, one by one, that I also want to pick up with him, not the whole bundle like we talked about on the video that he wants $7,000 for it, and we already negotiate that price, and it's still not done deal. It's still not completed. I know I will walk out with something out of there. That's for sure. I'm gonna end up with some kind of merchandise, but this was one of actually, like I was saying earlier, this was one of those Craigslist deals that he responded to my ad on Craigslist, and right over the phone I told the guy that what I do, as far as that we have a shop, and then I also mentioned that on my video so you guys can see it, how I run things and how I negotiate with those people. A lot of times it does work to your advantage when you tell them that you are a reseller and you have a shop, and especially in a position when they know that they got to sell this stuff. They know at that moment, okay, they're possibly going to be able to move maybe everything, get it done all at once, and it's a beautiful deal for them. And a lot of times not everybody is happy to hear the word reseller, because they right away thinking that you want to make money on them. But going back to that video, definitely within the next few days there'll be part 2. You guys can check it out, and I'll be showing off when we do end up getting the whole thing. I'm sure I'll be making a lot of videos on particular items that came out of there, because there's so much interesting stuff. I can tell you guys that I was there for over 2 hours, and I was filming with my GoPro till it completely died. And I kind of tried to just pick out the best parts and compress it to half an hour so people can have a general idea what was there. But just absolutely amazing what I came across, and hopefully they'll be one of the best hauls this year. I'm thinking. I mean, it's way up there from many hauls that I did.
Yeah, I thought it was great, man. And what I loved about it is when you were talking to the guy about the price, and then he pretty much said, "Hey, I understand you got to flip this stuff, and you at least got to double your money." So right there, I mean, he understands the game, and a lot of people, don't understand the game, and there's some that do. They watch American Pickers or Storage Wars or Storage Pawn Stars, and it's finding those people that understand that hey, I'm not buying this. I'm not a collector, or maybe you are. Maybe with silver you might pay full price, right? But if it's something where it's like a boat anchor, and you're like, okay, cool boat anchor, maybe I can sell for $500, but I'm only going to pay $250 for it. It's finding that seller that understands that, because that's huge. Wouldn't you believe so too, Pete? I mean, it's one of the core things when you're negotiating with somebody, because sometimes you can be talking to somebody and you're really interested in the product or the item they have for sale, and it's like at the end of the day, you're just never going to come to a common ground, because you're never going to make any money off it. People want top dollar.
Yeah, I mean, and most of the time I can sense that pretty much within the first minute if there's going to be a deal made or not. And I was kind of worrying when I was walking into this guy's house, knowing that he's got quite a few items. I'm like, okay, I got to spend some time here to see everything he's got to offer, before we talk numbers. But right off the get-go, I kind of introduced myself and I told him what I do. And right there and then he told me, hey, I want to do a bundle. I know you are a reseller. I'm moving. We're going to make a deal. Some kind of deal is going to come out of this. Yeah, so it's very important. A lot of times I walk in and people are, "Hey, I got this and this. I'm asking this much." And I don't even sometimes know what to answer to them, because sometimes people will have a price on something that it's totally outrageous, and I'll try to explain it to them the best I can, and then they feel offended, that how can I, well, I know this stuff. I know what I'm going to sell it for. I know what it's worth, and I'm telling you, this is what I can pay you for it. And everybody thinks everything is so beautiful and pretty. You watch that American Pickers, and don't get me wrong, I love, Mike and Frank. I love watching the show myself. But there's many times that I walk into somebody's home and I walk out with nothing, and nobody ever talks about, your failures, that you don't make the deal, that you got, skunked, and there's no money to be made. There's plenty of those, I bet you. I mean, I'm not saying I'm very good at it, but I think I got a pretty good grip on my negotiations over the years. And I will say, out of 5 deals, 4 will be made. 1 is a bad deal. Never happens, So 1 out of 5 doesn't happen. And nobody ever talks about this stuff, Even negotiating at flea market over $6, How many times, you tell somebody, hey, I'll give you, I'm willing to pay 6, and they're stuck on 10, and there's no money to be made.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, because we were talking about this briefly before we started about, there's always the hype with all these videos and TV shows. It's always like a constant success being that's all you see. You never hear too much of the downfall. Is there let's first, I'm going to get into 2 parts with this, but the first one is, do you ever look at something, Pete, and you bought it and you're like, man, I'm going to make some serious money off this, and then to realize down the road or when you try to sell it, it just didn't pan out? And if you've had that experience, can you talk about exactly what the item was and the story behind it?
Yeah, I mean, there's ton of stuff. Not only stuff that I, let's say, bought and I was thinking that this item would be only good for eBay, for example. There's a ton of items that we buy for the shop, and and either I have to spend money trying to fix it to get my money back, or just let it go and move on and just eat it, basically. I mean, we made a deal just a few days ago. Went to this guy's house. He had washer and dryer for sale. They're not that old, maybe 2-3 years old. Kind of higher end stuff. Those units were probably like $800 to $900 a piece new. And he was asking $500 for each. He wanted $1,000 for the set. Finally, I got him down to $700 for both, $350 a piece. I got to the point that I had to kind of lay out a cash right on the counter. Look, all these dollar bills here, you're going to get it right now. And I picked it up from him. Everything worked in his house. It seems like everything worked. He threw in some clothes to the dryer. It was working. He turned on the washer, it started filling up with water. Although I did question myself for a second that he turned on the washer, the water would go on for a second, he turned it off really quickly. I'm like, yeah, but it's working, right? We brought it in here. I had it in my shop for maybe 1 day, 2 days. Buyer came in, we sold it. I guaranteed that everything works, and I give a warranty on everything in my shop for as electronics, appliances. People have a week. When they buy it, they take it home, plug it in, test it. If something is wrong, within a week they can bring it back for a full refund or exchange on the merchandise. The guy
That's
bought it
awesome.
from us. The guy bought the set from us, brought it home. 3 hours later, phone call. The dryer works perfectly, not a problem. The washer works as well, fills up with water, but when it comes time to do a cycle to spin it out and pump the water out, well, guess what? The pump is not working, not spitting the water out. Now I had two options. I'm like, sir, I'm sorry, I apologize, bring it back. I got a couple different units. You can look at it in the shop, or I'll give you a full refund, or I'll give you a credit for something that will come in the future. Or I can set out, I got a couple local guys that work actually on my stuff here that it comes in if it needs repairs. I can send out a guy to you, whatever needs to be replaced, we'll take care of it. Well, his thing was that he bought this unit for his rental property, and this is actually a very nice house that he's renting, kind of higher class. He wanted nicer units in there. He says, Pete, I can't wait. I need, these people are moving in tomorrow. I need to have this stuff in, so I'm bringing it back to you. And he brought it back, and I gave him the money back. He went bought, stuff somewhere else because he needed now. I didn't have anything else that could accommodate him. Well, I call my guy up. He comes and checks it. Now the part that we need to order was like $120. And the cost to replace on it, my guy was going to charge me another $120. Right there goes my profit.
Mm-hmm.
And you run into stuff like that all the time, and it's just a part of the game. You got to be prepared. You got to build into the whole factor of running a business,
Yeah, that's crazy because you come across that when you get these washer and dryers. I had a washer like that where the belt inside there, like the whole housing tubing section, like that rubber, so that there's all that water, when it drains, it goes through. But there was a recall on it, so I got a screaming deal on this. I thought, man, this was $1,200 brand new. They wanted $600. I got them down to about $300. I figured, well, I can easily get $600, $700 for this. And I sold it to the person, and they said, man, it's leaking all over my house. And and you learn these little things like that. I mean, I should have looked at the model number to see if there was any recalls. I didn't. I just figured, oh man, this guy's telling me the truth, and then it becomes a loss. So, but anytime you can go and take that extra step and say, hey, my bad, we're going to fix this, or hey, we're offering you a 30-day return policy. I mean, you're showing that you're just not some side hustle, gangster on the side of the road. You're a business. You're legitimate, and you believe behind what you sell, and that's so important. It builds a trust, especially locally, and the whole local game is huge, I believe, and you're just a prime example of how somebody who's just crushing it with it. There's a lot of questions coming through here, so we're going to try to get to a lot of these guys. I'm going to kind of rapid fire some of these to you, Pete. There's one here from Andrew Elvis. What are some of the best keywords to look for on Craigslist? Like, what are you actively searching out? I mean, I know we kind of talked about that briefly, but are you looking for like Tonka trucks? I mean, you just have a little list you got there? Or?
No, instead of putting just certain words, because a lot of times if I just put, for example, vintage toys, I will have a mix of really good stuff and really crappy stuff, and I'll spend some time going through that stuff, but I will always pop on something. I will not put a particular just name like you saying a Tonka, because a lot of times people sometimes they don't even know what they have. They'll take a picture of the stuff and they're gonna put old toys or vintage toys, and they don't even list the name. And then you're gonna see the picture and you're gonna go, oh, I see a Tonka in there, and you calling them. Or if I'm looking for vintage electronics, I'll just do vintage electronics. I'm not gonna put looking for Sansui receiver or Kenwood receiver or Pioneer receiver. So just kind of broader information, not particular certain items that I'm looking for. Same thing with furniture or appliances. I just spend my time. I do this kind of every morning with the coffee. I'm like, today I really want to look for vintage electronics, and that's what I'll sit for 45 minutes and an hour in the morning with my coffee cup and just go through the whole section. If I find something, great. If I don't, boom, I'm done. I'm not stressing it out that, oh my God, I didn't find anything, you know?
Yeah, so that's going to lead me to this, 'cause that's pretty much what I do, is I just search the bland, basic keywords. So if I'm looking for stereos, it's stereo. If I'm looking for a car or go-kart or golf cart, it's simple, golf cart. I mean, obviously you could search by these bigger name brands and search for the uniqueness of them, but I think a lot of times you'll just come across especially with Craigslist or Facebook groups, the basicness, right, is where you're going to win every time. Here's a question for you. From Steve Brown. Pete, you get this list because of the store, or is there another way you compile it? This is something we talked about 20 minutes ago, this list you have. Are you basing it off of just your random knowledge of what's profitable, what people are looking for? Or, I mean, is it in conjunction with what you're seeing people come into your store and buying? I mean, this list that you got that, you got these hustlers going out there looking for.
Well, there's like kind of two different lists that we have. There's always the wanted list that people are on a list and they're looking for specific product. And then we have a list of items, like 20 best items that sell in a shop all the time. And for example, on that list will be some things, necessities to people for everyday life. People always look for phones, people always look for TVs, people always look for decent furniture. So those items will be on a list at all times because they're bread and butter for us. Not every day I go out and I find an 1854 rifle. It's just, remember, bread and butter to pay the bills is the regular stuff that folks need on daily basis. Like for the last month, we've been buying lawnmowers like crazy because I'm getting ready for the season. I'm done with the snow blowers. Now it's time for lawnmowers. So, and I buy them in good working condition, semi-working condition, and I buy them for parts as well. I got a couple guys that if something is not working, I just bring 10, 15, 20 of them at a time to the guy. He fixes, he tells me how much were the parts, and most of the time you can pick up those very, very cheap if they're not working, and it's worth my time and time of fixing and paying all these guys to acquire all this stuff. But yeah, I have two different lists, and the second list is like the 20 top 10 things that sell in the shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were talking about lawnmowers there, and that was one of my big things that I used to sell on Craigslist back in Chicago, and people overlook it. But it's like I say this: you go to Home Depot, go to Walmart, take a look at how much a standard lawnmower is. Right now, obviously, there's different price points of different lawnmowers you might find, but I mean, I would $50 to $100 for just a generic lawnmower all day, and it wouldn't even last a week on Craigslist. I mean, you're obviously doing the same thing, and you've got the operation going where you're just buying them, and you're looking at it going, okay, that's a lawnmower I can flip for $50 to $80, and I'm not going to put in the $90 worth of parts in it because I'll never get the money out of it. So there's got to be you obviously have an expert that looks at that and says, okay, yeah, Pete, this is not worth it, man. That's awesome. Here's another question, Pete, regarding Craigslist. From Cherry Vintage, and it's not just Craigslist. I think it's just in general negotiations. What's your advice on how to negotiate and close it on a deal with Craigslist customers when you are face to face with them? Before you answer that question, though, again, guys, I mean, Pete's taking a GoPro on his head, going on there, and he's got YouTube videos of this, right? I mean, there's no he's not slipping somebody $5, say, hey, here's a script, read it. I mean, it's real, and it's awesome. It should be on TV.
Well, the videos that you guys see, it's a lot of people don't want to be filmed. Actually, most of them don't want to be on camera. And I lost some good deals because of it. Mm-hmm. Because almost every deal that I go to, I do have a camera right on top, and they can see it, and I'll see the reaction in the first 2-3 seconds. Oh my God, what's going on? And I'll tell them right up front what am I doing, and if they're okay with it, and a lot of times they get ticked off right away so bad that they don't even want to talk to me. There's no deal, and sometimes it kills my deals. But I want to film some stuff for you guys. And a lot of times people are super okay with it, and a lot of times they'll just tell me, no, just please turn it off. I don't want to be on camera, and and we'll still make a deal. What is the best closing for us doing the deals? Reaching in my hand into my pocket and pulling a wad of green bills every time, especially if I'm buying quite a few things from them. They know that I'm serious, and for some reason, when people see the money in your hand, they're making a deal. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some deals that it does not impress people, and they're stuck on price, and it's hard negotiations. But I use this a lot in my negotiations. When it comes really to the time that they're kind of stuck on their price and I'm stuck on mine, that's the motion I go through. I reach in and I pull out, and I'm counting out those $100 bills, and I'm like, these are going to you. I got them in my hand, and we are swapping real cash for the merchandise, and you can see the grin on people's face. Yes, they see that money, and it's. I tell you, I use this technique probably in about 60–70% of the time when it comes to really hard negotiations, and it works for me very, very well. So
that's what it is. It's the green. You've got the money. You've got the money in your hand. Like, hey, I'm here to make a deal. You need the money. I've got it sitting here. Right? We just got to negotiate. And that's I've always learned that's the top thing when it comes to negotiating with somebody. It's like, here's the money. Here's what I've got. All right, I could do $200 in this right now, or I'm walking away. And I mean, people see that money, and if they need the money, they're going to make the deal. So that's awesome, Pete. Going back to the Craigslist buy ads you have, here's a message from Chris. He says, what category do you advertise your We Buy on Craigslist, or can you give a brief rundown on how it works? I see people advertising for buying iPhones or gold and silver in quantities all the time. What's your overall thought on that? Do you just have it under, is there a certain category you have it under, or how does that work for you?
Most of the time it will be in probably 2–3 different categories, but 90% of the time would be in wanted ads, and I'll just structure very simple, and I mean super simple ads. Basically, one sentence: I'm looking for cool vintage electronics. I can pick it up today, cash on a spot. Call me. And that's it. I don't go to any details. Those work the best. Extremely simple, straightforward ads, and we get a lot of calls on them. They work, and I will try to stay away from super popular stuff. If I would put an ad, I'm looking for iPhones, I'm competing probably against another 30 guys that have similar ad. Okay. I try to stay away from anything that is super hard. Same thing, if you put an ad out there, I'm buying gold, I'm buying silver. You're competing against another 20 guys who are buying gold and silver, on a daily basis. That's all they do. So I try to stay away from those very popular items that when you punch in actually when you can even click on either barter or wanted, and you'll see. Just avoid anything that is popular. Try not to structure the same way, because you're just competing against a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's a great point. Build that niche of buying, and have different stuff. Because if you're going, like Pete said, if you're going to be messing with the gold guys, the iPhone guys, I mean, it's heavy foot traffic in there, and then it gets competitive. People start flagging your ads. I mean, have something going on different, Like, I mean, I've got stuff out here where it's, hey, I buy toys, I buy action figures, just really stuff that out here there's not too many people doing it. Then again, here there's people, hey, we buy RVs, we buy iPhones, we buy laptops, and that's flooded, and it's just something I don't want to be a part of. So that's good. Great advice there, Pete. Stay away from the craziness, the competition.
One one more thing I'm going to mention that actually that I use to some in barter section. If I have a high ticket item, meaning for example a camper, a pop-up camper that I picked up last year, and it sat here for a while. It's not an easy thing to move. I structure in barter section an ad that I'm willing to barter this thing out. Shoot me some photos, tell me what you have, let's do some business. And you'll be amazed how many people actually were looking for the camper, but they didn't have 3 or 4 grand that they want to dish out on the camper, but they had a ton of cool stuff that they were willing to barter, you know. And I bartered that thing for 1999 125cc Honda motorcycle. The guy gave me a bunch of tools. I did pick up a couple gold rings from him and some other stuff, and you know, it came out to be a fantastic deal for me because I honestly had peanuts in that camper, and I picked up so much stuff that I probably would never picked up if I wouldn't had that ad out there that I had that camper for barter. So just be creative, you know, just be creative if you can.
For sure. I mean, that's what it is. Just be different, be creative. There's lots of ways to make money in reselling and in general. I mean, there's thousands of different strategies, thousands of different opportunities, and just be different, especially if the local scene. If you're looking at Craigslist and go, man, I can't compete with these guys. There's something that those guys are missing that you can take advantage of, right? Whether it's maybe buying furniture or it's buying lawnmowers, you know, just simple things like that. You know, moving your money, $20 into 50, 50 to 100, right? Going back and forth over and over. Here's a question here, Pete, from, looks like we were kind of talking here. Where did it go now? It jumped. Hold on, guys. All right, it's from Old Man Nutcakes. Do you source a lot of products from storage auction buyers? And second follow-up question is from Mr. Sadie. Do you go to storage units and buy storage units?
We used to, long time ago, me and Adrian, we used to love the storage units, and I think we might get back into it again. Since the show came out a few years ago, the Storage Wars, it absolutely killed that part of the business, I think. The hype that the show created, you know, we used to go and there would be 4 guys there against us, you know, bidding on stuff, or maybe 10 guys at the most. Since the show aired on TV, you would go to these auctions and there's 100 people and they're bidding like nutcases. They have no idea what they're doing. So we bought few units that we paid way too much money for it just because of those situations, and we stayed away for the last, I want to say 3-4 years period from storage units. We did couple just at the end of the year last year that they were kind of invite only, meaning that we were on a list with the storage units, and they only called up the guys that they are dealing with on monthly basis. That was pretty good. We showed up. There's only a few guys out there, and we got a couple units. But we were just talking with Adrian that we might go out there again and start, you know, looking at the storage units. Maybe the hype went down a little bit, and there'll be some opportunities with the storage units. But for now, it's kind of hit and miss. I do love regular auctions though a lot. We go to, I got probably 3 auction houses that I absolutely love, and we attend on almost weekly basis. You know, and sometimes there will be hit and miss. We won't pick up anything, but there's a lot of interesting. I love auctions. I absolutely regular auction houses that you can walk through before a couple hours, see what they got, do your research. Yeah, I'm pumped up every time I'm at the auction.
Yeah, I love going to auctions. I actually got my wife here, Kim, Pete. I don't think you've met her. but she's going to sit in here. She's going to ask you a couple questions. She's a Chi-Town girl herself. So there was one question here from Dixie Girl 999. Are storage unit auctions advertised on Craigslist? How do you find them? I'm going to give that to you, Pete. I'm going to step out for 1 second. My wife's going to sit here, and I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Alrighty. Yes, you can find the best way to find actually the storage auction is go to the storages themselves, talk to the manager, and get in on their mailing list. All of them have mailing lists that you can be part of, and they'll let you know a week or two before, a couple days before, that the auction is coming up and how many units they're gonna have. And there's some that advertise on Craigslist as well, that you can, they usually advertise a week before or so that there's an auction coming up at their facility. But when we did it, I was probably hooked up to about, I don't know, 10, 12 different storage facilities, and they would just, send us an email once a month. This is how many units we're gonna have, what time it's gonna be happening. So probably the best way is just go directly to each storage place and put your name on a list, especially those bigger places, public storage. They do their auctions all the time. They got so many units everywhere, so many facilities. I think there's in Chicagoland area in Northwest Indiana, there's, if I remember correctly, they have like 160 different facilities with their storages. So it used to be a great way to pick up some stuff. At the moment, I got out of the game a little bit, so maybe we'll get in soon again, but it's fun. I love them, though.
Well, Kim made an appearance and then she darted, so all right, yes.
I have to get my grades in.
She's got to get her.
Quarter,
yeah,
so.
she's a teacher, so she's got to get her grades in, I guess. But all right, yeah. Storage auctions, I think they're alive and kicking for sure. Overall, I think it's something especially if you've gone to these before and you went during the whole time of storage wars and you saw the chaos, because it was the same way. I mean, I was back there in Illinois when it was happening, when Pete was talking about that. I mean, there would be thousands of people there, and people would be bidding just crazy numbers just to say they've got one. And then you have people just standing there, just like, wow, it's like the TV show. But now, what I've realized is that that's kind of disappeared, and now it's becoming, especially from out here, from what I've seen, is that there's not a lot of people going to these guys, and there's some screaming deals. And obviously, it's just location where they're at, and going and following up with this stuff. But anytime, like Pete was saying, you go to an auction, you can score box slots, you can find some amazing things at some great deals. Same thing with storage auctions. Take a look. I mean, it doesn't hurt to go out there and try to find the stuff. All right, Pete, we got a bunch of questions here. This is great. Let's see. Let's go to this one here from Dr. Seuss. Do you often go to the Goodwill outlet, and if you do, what do you focus more on? When I'm thinking of saying Goodwill outlet, I don't know if they have a weigh and pay out where you're at. I think the closest one was in Indianapolis that I went to when I was in Illinois. But maybe that's changed. Is there a Goodwill outlet out by you, a weigh and pay?
No, there's not one here. I mean, obviously, ton of regular Goodwills, and there's some good ones and better ones. Right before we started the show, we were talking about the one in Round Lake Beach. It's, I think, probably one of the best Goodwills out here. But when I walk into the Goodwill, for me, I do my rounds. There's probably 3-4 different sections that I hit right away. That stuff that I'm looking for. If I don't find anything, then I move on to particular section. Okay, I didn't find anything in electronics, nothing in collectibles, nothing in pictures, nothing in cases, and all of a sudden, okay, I'm forced now to maybe look at some clothing. And I'll go through it really quickly. Look for some vintage stuff. Although I try to stay away from clothing. But yeah, I got my ways how I maneuver through Goodwill. As far as the list, do I really certain things that I go after in a Goodwill? No, it's what I can spot, because you never know what you're gonna find in those stores. So, and sometimes, you know, it's funny. This just happened a few days ago, and a lot of times I'll pick few items, I'll put them in my cart, and you know they always have a little section that there's some furniture, right? There's a couple sofas there, there's a couple big chairs, and I will sit on a sofa and start unloading the stuff out of my cart and just going, you know, either on eBay or different websites, looking at it. Is this worth? You know, I know it's a good item, but just double checking if it's worth picking it up. And all of a sudden, you know, I'm so busy looking at us, somebody takes my card away, and they go with my card. I'm like, what are you doing? That's my stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, they reach into your card and they grab stuff out of your card. You know, I got all this stuff sitting next to me, so they know what you're doing, right? They know that you are obviously a picker because you're sitting there, you know, and going through the stuff. But yeah, as far as like a good recipe for Goodwill, I don't think I have it. I just go in and, you know, I do my rounds. If I spot something really good, I'll pick it up. You know, I try not to spend in a Goodwill 3 hours and force myself to. I have to buy something. If there's no money to be made, I move on. Or if there's not enough profit, I leave it alone. I leave it on a shelf, and I just move on.
This is a good here. This can lead to a question I had here for you, Pete. You know, I'm just trying to envision you going into Goodwill, right? And because you find such amazing things, and you have this great YouTube channel, and you talk about these things, and you talked about how you might look at some clothing. Obviously, you're not picking up Garfield coffee mugs, or you're not looking at shoes, or maybe you are. But what would you say your top 5 items? And you don't have to give them out. You could just say these are the categories they're in, or if you want to talk about it freely, that's cool. But what are the top 5 things that when you're going into Goodwill or Salvation Army or Savers, because you got a Savers across the street from you, I mean, what are you typically finding? What is Pete pulling out? The 5 things you're pulling out of these thrift stores.
5 things.
Electronics. I'm gonna try to guess here.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say maybe not only thrift stores and Goodwills. Let's do general. It might be flea markets. It might be garage sales or the Goodwills. But number 1, definitely, because I know a lot about it, it is vintage electronics. Number 2, anything World War I and World War II stuff. Militaria, okay? Always good seller, always sells. I sell it in a shop, I sell it online, and I can move that stuff pretty fast. Especially in a shop, I got a ton of collectors that come into the shop and look for that stuff. So the number 13, number 3 would be that absolutely weird stuff. As you're walking down the aisle and you see something sitting on that shelf and you go, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Or is it just, you know, back from 50s and it's just kind of like absolutely goofy, and you think to yourself, who would even buy that? Well, guess what? I'm buying that. It's
so
weird.
The unique, the weirdness. It's kind of eye-catching. I mean, that's what you're grabbing.
I mean, and that stuff, actually, a lot of people come to my shop because they already know that they're gonna find all these goofy, weird things in my shop too. So I kind of built a little bit of clientele that they know that they're gonna find interesting and weird stuff. So I always look for those. Number 4 will be probably antiques. I love antiques, any kind, from furniture to just anything that it's 100 years and older. I mean, it could be, you know, farm equipment, all kinds of stuff. That just draws me. I love learning about it. It's my thing. I got a ton of books on it. I constantly educate myself. And with that stuff, you come up with something new all the time. And people are willing to pay big money.
Yeah.
That's why I love to pick up, you know, antique stuff, because it's just so profitable if you can obviously pick it up for the right price. And number 5, I do like vintage clothing. as much as I don't like clothing, I do like vintage stuff. You know, the 60s and 70s and 80s. Just like you love the T-shirts, I love the T-shirts as well. I love the weird leather jackets from 1970s, the old truckers' hats, boots. You know, if I can find old vintage boots, and even they might be in a rough shape, for some reason people love that kind of stuff, and then they buy it. So yeah, these are my five number one things that I look for.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's a question here from where did it go? I don't know. I wasn't offending anybody with the coffee mugs. I was just saying I don't think Pete was going in there looking for Garfield mugs, and obviously you can sell Garfield mugs.
Hold on.
Okay, he's probably got one. But while he's going to do that, you know, it's like he said, you know, it's about just educating your mind, right, and understanding what's out there. I mean, here, these are just like, here, depression glass, right? Everything you can learn about depression glass. You know, what's in these little guides or encyclopedias. Here, clocks and watches. I mean, when you start to see this stuff, you know, and these books, I mean, they're usually nothing when you find them. And, I mean, here, I mean, a typical Vienna regulator, German factory-made dial, center brass rim. I mean, it's a gorgeous-looking clock, but would you really know, like, how much that would be worth? I mean, then it's breaking down to little watches. I mean, just as long as you keep filling your brain with this stuff, you'll start to spot this stuff if you put yourself, especially in more of an estate sale atmosphere or an auction atmosphere. You'll start to spot some of these other different, you know, antique, older, vintage things. But anytime you can pick up these books, guys, and just browse through them, I mean, it's worth looking into, especially if you're new. All right, Pete, what'd you get? Garfield mug?
No, it's not a Garfield mug, but this is the last one we got actually in a shop. It's the collectible Starbucks mug, the City mug. That's what it's called, City mug 2002. Adrian actually picked these up off the guy off Craigslist. Over 100 pieces. Okay. This lady was collecting them. I guess she passed away. Nephew was cleaning out the house, called us up. He says, I got this huge collection of Starbucks mugs. Are you guys interested? Sure we are. If there's money to be made, of course I am. So he went out there and picked them up for $1 a piece.
Wow.
And this is the last one I got that actually I'm going to be packing tomorrow morning, because before we start the show, it did sell. Remember I was telling you I'm packing things on eBay?
Yeah.
It sold. That's the last one. It's going to be packed and shipped tomorrow, sold for $29.95.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't look at mugs, guys. You look at the right ones. Look at the ones that sell. I mean, I got a video coming out probably after the show, maybe later tonight, and you're going to see an update video for me, and there's 2 mugs in there. Actually, 3 mugs, I think, in there, the video I sold. So, not bashing mugs. Anyway, all right. There was a lot of other questions here. Here's one here from Steve Napier, Pete. You know, how did you gain your knowledge on vintage electronics? Did you learn this from just, you know, we're both older. I mean, maybe, you know, we've seen these brands or the Sansuis. I mean, how did you get to know the whole vintage electronics? I mean, is it studying, looking at complete listings on eBay?
Well, as far as the vintage electronics, I gotta give lots of credit to my dad. He was a electric engineer and absolutely loved anything that had to do with high quality audio equipment. Back in 70s and 80s, he always had great stuff, and he was always working on this stuff, fixing it for people. A lot of stuff was going through my house. He had one room dedicated. It was his shop. He was constantly working on it, and that's how I kind of, you know, fall into this stuff. And then in mid 80s, I was always kind of crazy about quality audio equipment myself. And in late 80s, I was actually a DJ for about 4.5 years. It was kind of my gig, and I was involved very, very heavily, playing in some awesome clubs here in Chicago when I was, you know,
All right,
growing up.
now I gotta stop you. What were you playing? House music? I mean, what was Pete playing back in the day?
Well, and house was big, so a lot of trends, a lot of house, and me being Polish and I came from Europe, I brought a lot of that music with me as well too, a dance music, the Italo disco, the French, the German exploded with and UK with when they picked up actually house music from Chicago, which is all started kind of from Chicago.
Hmm.
In late 80s, UK picked up on US house so big, and they transformed that music big time. And I was loving it, and we were playing all that stuff in clubs. It was just absolutely phenomenal. So I had a great ride from like 86 to about 91 for about 5 years. And that's where I met a lot of people that had a lot of knowledge about lots of different equipment. And I mean, that's exactly what you were talking about earlier, that you got to constantly educate yourself and surround yourself with people that you can learn from. So that was my love of vintage electronics from when I was little, learning from my dad, then growing up, being surrounded by the guys who were using the equipment, the tube amplifiers, from 60s and then in 70s, and then going into the classic, Sansui or Kenwood receivers in 70s. So yeah, I mean and I'm constantly learning. I think I know a lot about them, and I'll come across something totally, out of this world. I'll be like, how can I find information on it? It's so super rare. They only made 500 pieces of this back in 1972, and there's only one blog out there that somebody knows something about it and they're writing about it. So it's a constant learning experience.
So when you come across a vintage piece of electronics, and obviously they've got model numbers on there or some identifier where you can say, okay, this is what this is. Are you going right to eBay to look this up, or are you maybe going to WorthPoint, or is there a certain website you're looking up to see kind of what gauge in terms of value?
Yeah, I mean, obviously eBay, it's a great indicator, because if something is pretty popular, it will give you good indication how much this thing is worth. But on vintage electronics, for some reason, the spread is so big. You could possibly look at the same receiver that it's sold within the last 3 months 27 times, and there'll be a price $100, 150, 200, 300, 400, 500. It's just amazing. It's all about condition on those units, how clean they are, and a lot of times, I just kind of know a lot of this stuff right now, so I will, I just use kind of my gut feeling, and I will pick up stuff and I'll bring it to the shop, working or not working condition. I will refurbish a lot of stuff myself, take it apart, clean it out, so I can maximize my profit on those. I mean, I know a lot about actually vintage electronics, so just by doing that, trying to fix things, make them look presentable, you can make some good money. As far as the research, there's a lot of on vintage electronics. There's a lot of different either blogs or websites that you can go and look and stuff. But yeah, eBay is absolutely good enough if you're starting out at the beginning to look for that stuff. Lots of people vintage electronics are extremely popular these days, so lots of people are selling them on eBay, and you can find a lot of good reference there. So
Cool. Since we're talking about eBay, I wanted to bounce this off of you, and this is a question I had for you. Is everything you're selling, is it auction or is it buy it now, or is there a mixture of both? And is there stuff that you just won't sell on eBay? Like, I mean, are you going to sell an item that sells for $10 on eBay? Do you have certain price points that you say, okay, yeah, this is over $30, that goes to eBay? If you can kind of dabble on that, that'd be cool, man.
yeah, I mean, I try I try to stay with most of the items that would be at least $30 and up on eBay. Although you'll see a video that, just like you said, as soon as we finish this, I'm going to be uploading 10 cool items that I just sold last week. And one of those items in there, it's going to be a cheapie. It's a $14.99 item that I picked up at Goodwill, but I picked up a massive amount of it. And these are our little disc coconut. These are like coconut shavings mixed into with wood. That as you use them, you can use them for planting flowers, and you can throw them into pulverized dirt. I walked in a few days ago to Goodwill, and they had this huge plastic bag filled with those. I don't know, 150 pieces, 200 pieces in that bag. They're about this big, about an inch thick, and they had a $10 price on it. And I'm thinking, can I sell these online? I know I'm not going to sell them in a shop. It's going to take forever to sell them in a shop. Can I sell them online? So I looked up on eBay, and that's what people were doing. They were bundling them up, and they were selling like 10, 15, 20 at a time. I'm like, $10. If I bundle 10 pieces together, can I sell them for $14.99? And I looked up online, that's what people were doing. All right, I'm buying this. So now I'm selling a cheap item, $14.99, and I already sold few. Investment, $10, possibly return a couple $100. So sometimes, yes, I will go into those, to answer your question, go into those cheaper items. But overall, I try to stay kind of with the higher ticket items. I would prefer that everything would be at least like a $50 sale.
Okay.
Because I got to calculate time and effort that it's put into that item. Not especially the items that I go out there and source it out. Not necessarily something that came into the shop, but you know, if I spend time, yes, and then I gotta pay a person that it's in my eBay room to list this, all the eBay fees and shipping, everything has to make sense. So I will prefer that all the items that I'm putting on eBay are right around $50 mark, with about 100% profit, meaning that I spent $25 on that item, I can sell it for $50, and after everything is done, I'm making probably $15 on that item. You know, so you got to do your numbers. It's all numbers game for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I sell $10 T-shirts, because I have maybe 50 cents to $1 in them, but I sell them in volume. And I look at that and say, most people wouldn't mess with that, you know. But you know, I've got the means. I've got workers that help me with this. That, you know, at the end of the day, that pays electric bill every month. That pays, you know, my gas. That pays for my employees. Believe it or not, those little $10 hits. But that's not like, you know, obviously we all want to find the bigger ticket items, the $50, $100 and up. And I just think, you know, we talked about this on the Resellers Roundtable with Andrew. You know, it's go after what's making you money and being smart about it at the end of the day. Got some more questions here, Pete. Pete, here's a one from Chris Seacrest. Pete, if you're starting over as a one-man business and you didn't have your brick-and-mortar location, what would you spend your time doing most to flip your money? And then he kind of broke it down and said eBay, Amazon, I think there was Craigslist store. What would you do?
From experience, I'll tell you this right now. If you are a one-man show and you enjoying sourcing stuff out, I would probably concentrate on eBay, mainly because it's easy to get in and you can sell huge, I mean, the variety of things that you can sell on eBay and potential buyers that you have on eBay is unbelievable. And the initial investment it's very, very small. I mean, if you're gonna sit down and you're gonna say, I'm gonna start out today, I got $1,000 in my pocket, think it that way. Don't try to triple or make $10,000 out of that $1,000. Think about it that you just want to double that money. And pick up something for $3 and see if you can move it for 15. Not right away look for those items that, okay, I'm gonna go out and buy a $300 camera because I see a good deal on Craigslist and I know I can flip this for $650 on eBay. You're gonna do 3 items like that and you're gonna be out of money, okay? And it might take some time before you actually get the money out of it, the money that you want out of it. So concentrate on those smaller items, build up your inventory slowly, and build that store, and don't worry about it that something is not selling. And listen, I get a lot of these questions when people get in, well, how can I do that? How can I build up inventory? They only let me sell 10 items the first month. Then they bumped me up to 100 items on eBay, and I can't list anymore. My answer to that is work your eBay the way you think it's going to be most profitable. So if you're buying a lot of stuff, list those items that you think they're going to sell the quickest, that they're going to bring you, not necessarily maybe the most profit, but will generate the profit. And be patient. It's going to take time. Do your first month. Call eBay. You already have some nice, 20, 30 feedbacks. Talk to them that you got a lot more inventory that you want to put out there. They'll raise it to you to 150 next month. Do that the same, 2 months later. Call them again. Great feedback. Stay on top of your game. All of a sudden, boom, a limit goes to 500. And that's how you build it slowly. Get that going, get your items in that eBay store, and just be patient. Be willing to wait it out. Don't be slashing prices right away and, this is not selling. It's been 2 months. So now it's been 2 months, keep your price. Do maybe a best offer, see what people were willing to, but, just take your time. Everything takes time in this business. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. The second great platform is use Craigslist. You can do quick flips with the Craigslist. A lot of times you're gonna, if you want. Some people say, well, Pete, I don't have room for that, big sofa or that big table. You don't have to. You can go pick up that sofa, you find a consignment store in your town, you bring it directly to them, you bought it for $20, consignment store will put it for $150, they're gonna take their $50 and it's just sitting there. It's like Amazon FBA, they're keeping the stuff for you. So just be creative and you can make it work. Amazon, that's another animal, okay? I would say at the beginning, if you don't know what you're doing, you want to get your feet wet, unless you have a big bankroll and you're not worrying about it that you're going to tie up some money, go after it. But at the beginning, I would tell people, get your feet wet first with eBay before you step into the Amazon, because you can get hurt relatively quickly if you don't know what you're doing, And there's a lot of good guys out there who you can watch. They give you good pointers, on Amazon. Me, myself, I'm not going to call myself expert by any means on Amazon. I do sell on Amazon platform, but those sales for me on Amazon are kind of guaranteed. I know what I'm getting into. I know what I can get out of the item, and I'm willing to wait as well on Amazon.
Yeah, well said. I think that's... If you guys got any takeaway from this, and if you're new, it's that go to eBay, but also utilize what else is out there. I mean, obviously, if you're new to eBay, the limitations come. Follow what Pete says, is keep following up. They're going to work with you. They want you, right? They want you as a seller, okay? But utilize that whole local game, the whole Craigslist, Facebook, Backpage. There's a lot of opportunities. social media you can use locally, you know, believe it or not. Sort of hashtagging, let's say you're from Missouri, hashtag Missouri Finds, or for sale in Missouri. I mean, all these hashtags work, guys. But there was a lot of questions, Pete, from people, and this was one I had, was, I know there was, let me go through here so I get the people right. I believe it's Alan Blackwelder, there was Vegas Flips, and a couple of other you guys, and then myself as well. You mentioned Amazon there for a little bit. Have you tried Amazon FBA?
Yes, I did.
What was your thoughts on that? And go ahead.
Yes, I did. I mean, I did had some success with Amazon FBA. You know, I did hit some bumps with them too. You know, at the beginning, especially. And I think I told you that story that, you know, there was some lost merchandise, but the thing for me with Amazon is I would rather keep the product actually in my store. I think, you know, I have my own Amazon FBA right here going on in my shop, because a lot of items that I pick up I can flip really quickly here locally, and I don't need to pay the commission for that, you know. So it's I don't know. I mean, my thoughts really on Amazon. It's a great platform, guys. Don't get me wrong. It's huge. It's exploded. It's a fast-moving train, but you really you got to know what you're doing. I really don't want to go to details on it. You probably, Mike, can get in better on that subject, as far as, you know, as far as FBA. I'm gonna be flat honest. I'm not an expert on it. I sell on it, but it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's just the truth coming from some guy saying, hey, he's not going to try to lie through it all, or say, hey, you know, here's what you got to do. Just says that, you know, he's not an expert in it. You know, he's got other things going on. Obviously, we could talk about Amazon FBA here, but you know, it's not what the show is about. The show is to interview Pete, and we got an answer out of you, Pete. Awesome, man. Thanks for commenting on that. I got to ask you this really fast, Pete. Are you a Cubs or a White Sox fan? Which one? Or a Black Box?
Actually, I'm not a huge fan of baseball, and I'm not trying to offend anybody here.
All right, I got to go. Sorry, guys. This show's just about ended here. No, sorry, Pete. Go ahead, man.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I absolutely love football. Okay, just crazy fan for Chicago Bears, and I know they are going through some rough times right now. Yeah, baby. I go to at least 1, 2, sometimes even 3 games if I can. I love Chicago Bulls as well, and I love Blackhawks. If I would have to choose White Sox and Cubbies, I would say yes, I'm a Cubby fan.
All right.
And the reason I say that,
I can keep you on the show now. We can have another one of these. We can. I can still continue with you and Andrew on Tuesdays. Okay, we're good. No, go ahead, Pete. Sorry, man.
I'm gonna say I'm a Cubby fan because when I go to Wrigley Field, there's better-looking women at the Wrigley Field than there's at the White Sox game. So.
Yeah, and the odds of you getting shot, they increase if you go over to the old Comiskey over there. But all right, Pete. So now I'm trying to liven you up here a little bit. What was your favorite restaurant to go to in Illinois? Because I mean, I'm like stuck in Arizona here. I love Arizona. I love the weather. I mean, it's gorgeous out, but the food. I mean, there's great food, and then there's like, oh man, I want an Italian beef, or I want a good slice of pizza. Where does Pete go? What does Pete like to eat?
There's 2 favorite places that I have that I go a lot. One of them, and I really go a lot, probably go too much, and it's a fast food joint. It's right off Maxwell Street, and it's Jimmy's. You know, and the way they make the Polish sausage in that joint, I can go to any Polish deli and nobody will make a Polish sausage like these guys do. I love that place. It's not a sit-down place. You just walk up to the counter, you order whatever you want, and off you go. So I love absolutely that place. As far as that, like, better restaurants, I love the Brazilian steakhouse. I love Brazos.
That's good. Yeah.
The selection of meat. We go there with my wife at least a couple times a year, especially if we are going to some kind of event in Chicago. I always plan that out that I will end up at Brazos. I just love their food, the way they serve. So that's one of my favorites.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. We got Counting Guys says Cubs merchandise sells faster. I'd have to agree 100% too. A lot of Chicago people in the house here and a lot of people supporting. So that's awesome. Here's a question from Steve Brown. Pete, when did you come here from Poland, and did you start hustling then, or did you have another job to get by? How did you get into this business, and how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been here, guys, a long time. I came here in 1984, and first hustling I actually done back home on a real black market, not a flea market, black market. Okay, my grandfather actually used to sell fishing equipment, and if you guys don't. If some of you might know, I'm a huge fisherman. That's my hobby. I love fishing, and I used to go with my grandfather to those black markets all the time, and he would sell there on weekly basis, and that's where I made my actually first sales. I was selling Matchbox cars and comic books, and I was like 12, 13 years old. So I want to say yes, I think I have it in my genes from my grandfather, the hustling. But when I came here in 1984, obviously, I was a kid. I went to school here. I went to 8th grade, and then I went through the high school and college, which I never finished, dropped out. Played soccer through all my years in high school and in college as well. And then probably really got into the game of reselling when Craigslist started. I want to say 96, 97. Really started hitting it hard in 98, 99. That's when I saw the potential of making money, hustling, buying and selling and trading things. And then when I met my partner in early 2000s, we really stepped up and started selling all kinds of stuff. So that's how that's little background history on me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of you guys posting there. Bob Chins for seafood. We got Steve Brown, who's from Hampshire, west of Elgin. You know where that's at, Pete, for sure. Mr. Service Merchandise from Chicago. So that's good to see a lot of Illinois peoples, Chicagoans in the house. Pete, do we have some more time to talk about? Can we get a couple more 4 or 5 questions in, or you got to go?
No, I got time. We can do this all night. I'm having fun, man. I'm having fun.
Me too. Man, it's awesome.
If you guys give me, though, I need 30 seconds of bathroom break. Okay, I'm drinking water here because I'm losing my voice.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll ramble on. So, yeah, guys. I mean, this is really cool. This is why I wanted to have this on here tonight. Obviously, you can check out more of Pete on his YouTube channel, Craigslist Hunter. Also, on Tuesday nights on Pick and Profits channel, there's me, Pete, and Andrew. We do our thing every Tuesday where we're going to have just different content and different things we're talking about, and you never know who might pop up in the show. So just just a bunch of us resellers getting together that are full time, that are going out there making money and paying our bills and supporting our families, and this whole thing too about reselling, is it can be done. I would never come on YouTube or any platform and just make stuff up or say this is just some pipe dream. You can do things if you work hard, right? If you're listing things, if you're hustling Facebook or hustling Backpage or Craigslist. There's so much opportunity out there. Not even with with eBay, with Amazon, we can go on and on. Etsy. I mean, today I think I sold 18 things on Etsy. It may sound crazy to some of you. You're like, oh man, I barely sell anything on Etsy. It's just it's a numbers game, I mean, if you've got 20 things up there, I mean, realistically, how many items do you think you're going to sell a day or a week with only 20? It's all numbers, and price points. Amazon's a little different. It's what ROI you getting out of it. What's the rank? What's the where can you source the stuff from? There's all these different ways to make money as an online entrepreneur, really, because that's what it is. You're going to move on and on and on and sell these items, and whether you're starting off at thrift stores, where are you going to be in 3 years from now? Maybe you're still doing the same thing. Maybe you got an antique booth. Maybe you started your own T-shirt line. I mean, it can go on and on and on, and that's the crazy thing about just one, just talking about this. But this is why I wanted to do this tonight, was to get in the see what Pete's going on and see what he's got going on. Because guys, if you're ever in Crystal Lake, I'm sure Pete would be more than happy to welcome you to his store and talk to you for an hour or two or whatever. But just a really cool vibe, guys. There's no hey, go buy this or anything like that. We're just here to shoot the stuff tonight, and really appreciate you guys watching and hanging in tonight. If you do like this, guys, really, as we're going to move forward here, I see Pete's back. Hit the like button. That tells me, that will tell Pete, hey, this is cool. We dig it, right? We want to see more of this. We really appreciate that. But Pete, you're back, man. A couple questions here, and I hope I'm not pronouncing. I'm going to butcher this name. It's Innate03. What shipping service, Pete, is the best for large items? Let's say a large light-up outdoor sign. So I'm envisioning, kind of like you were talking about Resellers Roundtable, that big sign you had. I mean, how do you ship these big things if you're selling them online?
Definitely freight companies, although UPS can handle some big items too. I mean, UPS will ship a piano for you as well, and they will outsource those to those companies that just deal with the big items. I do have a local company right here in Crystal Lake. It's called J Freight, and they will. I can either bring a picture to them to show them the item with the dimension and the weight, or since they are so close and I already got to know a couple reps in there, and they will just come to my store and they'll tell me exactly how much it's going to cost, as long as I give them the zip code. It's all about communicating with your customer first. Are they willing to pay for the shipping cost? Because there's it's not very hard at all to find these freight companies, and they all need to make money. And when you're shipping something big and somebody wants it, people do realize that it's going to cost quite a bit of money. Like that, that sign that I shipped. This was a huge thing. We triple packed it for as boxes. And the person was, more than willing to pay a couple $100 for the freight cost on this. So just find your local company, get their prices, and just communicate with the customer. Be upfront that this possibly could cost, $300, $400, even $500 to move. Even the smaller companies that do move cars. Will ship stuff for you if they already have trucks going that way. They're willing to pick up the stuff from your location, take it directly to the customers, and sometimes you can save some money. I used that kind of service once, and it worked out really good because it was about 50% cheaper than my local guy here, and it was about 100% cheaper than UPS. So just gotta source it out there, who's available in your area.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, it's big and heavy. Don't be in the cheap, right? I mean, make sure the stuff's secure. The worst thing you want to do is send something that if you look on eBay right now, let's say look at mid-century furniture, right? You'll see people selling dressers, right, for thousands of dollars, and just do it right. Some of these you're gonna have to skid up. Some you're gonna have to shrink wrap. You're gonna have to, cushion it. You got to put in some work into it, and you got to make sure it's shipped securely, because especially when it comes to the high ticket dollar stuff, because imagine yourself, you bought that and you spent $300-400 and up, and you get something and it comes to you and you're like, really?
Dad, how about I turn the grill off? It's on fire.
Oh shoot. All right, hold on, Pete. I'm gonna run real quick, Pete. My grill's on fire. Hold on.
All right, no problem. Yeah, so when it comes to those guys, to those big ticket items, you just like Mike is saying, you gotta take care of the shipping. You gotta make sure that it's packed correctly. So when your customer gets the item, there is no issues. Spend some time, wrap it good. I just like recently sent this pretty expensive China that somebody bought from me actually off Craigslist, not off eBay, off Craigslist, and we shipped it to New York. It was a complete set of china, a bunch of plates and bowls. We probably spent 2 hours packing that, and we told the customer up front that it's going to be costly. That this is going to be a big box. It's going to take a lot of time, and they had no problem. They had absolutely no problem paying for the shipping. So yeah, take care of that. Take care of that that shipping stuff. What can I say? What kind of questions you guys have here? Let's see. I heard, yeah, Chicago here. Oh, do I sell on Etsy? Great platform. Yes, I do sell on Etsy. Typical vintage stuff for me on Etsy store. Anything from 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't have a lot of items on Etsy, and it's kind of long-term process for me because I think you got to just wait out on Etsy. But you can make some good money of Etsy. I do my research and I really put the items there that I think what they are really worth, and I just wait. I always say there's a buyer for everything, and Etsy shoppers are a little bit different than eBay shoppers. It takes time. They're going in. They're looking for specific item. So Etsy, it's a great platform. I was just talking, Mike, that somebody had a question that they were looking for. Do I sell on Etsy? So I was just talking a little bit about Etsy. No audio, Mike. You got no audio.
All right, this is why women should not touch another man's grill. I think I've just singed all the hair off my arm, and I think some of my eyebrows are missing. But anyway, we're safe here. Yeah. Anyway, ooh, that was crazy. I went out in the backyard, Pete, and like there was this flame just shooting up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Kim's like, help! I'm like, move out of the way. All right. Anyway, guys, let's see here. You were talking about Etsy, Pete. Let's go. Yeah, I wanted to ask this one here before, Pete. You were talking about electronics. Steve Napier says, for flipping your electronics, are you using eBay, Craigslist, or are you doing it in the store? Where do you find most of the time you're flipping these at?
Probably eBay and a store. I sell quite a bit in a store of vintage electronics, and then obviously modern electronics. The TVs and regular stereo equipment. But eBay, with eBay, I try to go with items that I know they're gonna bring a good profit. And you asked me earlier the question that I don't think I ever answered. Do I go auction or buy it now style? 99% of the time, I will go buy it now, unless I already know the item and I sold it before and I know what kind of money it's gonna bring. But I will do buy it now, test out the market, see how many watchers I have, see what kind of interest I'm creating, and I will shoot it up with a crazy price. And if I get a bite, wonderful. I'm happy. If I don't get a bite, at least I know exactly what's going on with the item, and then I'll put it on the auction.
Good to know for sure. Dixie Girl 999, does Etsy have a monthly charge for a store? No, they don't. It's just a flat fee, and I believe it's 20 cents up front. That's good for 4 months, and you can list. There's no limits with Etsy, guys. It's not like eBay. So if you're new to selling, It's something you should be looking into, especially if you can dabble in the vintage, pre-1995 stuff, I believe, handmade stuff, or even stuff you produce yourself. And what that can mean is, maybe you outsource something from. All right, Kim's back. I've literally lost all the hair on my arm, Kim. I went in the backyard. Sorry, Pete. I went in the backyard and I see this poor woman sitting there with a tong, and I'm like, oh my! And it flames. I'm like, oh my god! I've literally burnt off. What are these even? I don't even know. Eyelashes. They're gone. They're gone. All right. Anyway, so hopefully that answers your question there, Dixie Girl. I would definitely encourage all of you guys to look into Etsy for sure. Lots of opportunity out there.
Etsy, it's a huge market, and I think they just went public, or they going public next month?
They're about to, and I think that's I'm not gonna say, guys, yeah, go buy Etsy stock or go join because when the IPO comes, but yeah, it's gonna be exciting, and people are going to rush to Etsy. There's gonna be, some people don't even know about Etsy.
Yeah, and I think they keep going on rankings. Last time I looked up Etsy, probably about a few months ago, they were like number 39 website in US visited on daily basis, and I think it's like number 31 or 32 right now. That's huge. They get huge amount of traffic. Huge.
Yeah, and there's numbers. I'm working on a little Etsy project for you guys. But their numbers are huge, guys. I mean, billions and billions of dollars are running through Etsy. And don't look at it as like, oh, that's just some, bonanza. It's nothing like bonanza. And if you look at, some of the top-rated sites for sellers and some of the stuff in terms of fees, Etsy's up there, way above Amazon, eBay, in terms of the fees especially. But it's a growing market, and if you can find that vintage stuff, that vintage stereo stuff will sell, the vintage T-shirts. It's a different vibe, and you're gonna get a little more bang out of your buck for the items. Ow, my hand is like on fire, Kim. All right, we see Caesar's Palace in the house. Shout out to some of you guys. Caesar's Palace, U-Phone, iFlip, 208 Picker, Chi-Town Bear, Cub 2387, Steve Brown, 01 Wolf, Mr. Service Merchandise. Lots of you guys here, so thanks for hanging with us here tonight. Can answer maybe a couple more questions here. Yeah, I've got like third-degree burns on my arm, but that's okay, right, Kim? I saved the ribs, damn it.
Not really.
No, they're garbage.
We're going to Arby's.
No, boy. All right, for you, Pete, Chi-Town Bear says, can you list an item on eBay and Craigslist at the same time?
Yeah, we do. I try not to do that too much because I got so many items in a shop too that we gotta keep an eye on it. If something sells and it's listed on Craigslist and we have it laying on a shelf in a shop, I gotta make sure that it's I got this system that my guys actually keep track of stuff that it sells on Craigslist and sells in the shop. And they will bring into the eBay room and they tell me you got to take this right away because we just sold it on Craigslist or we just sold it in the shop. So yeah, definitely you can list on both.
Mr. Service Merchandise, Mike, did you submit a video for the Victory Auto Wreckers commercial contest? No, I didn't. Didn't even know what was going on, or else I would have. Just a classic Chicago company there for sure. Let's see here. Let me go back here. Sorry, I got kind of caught off with this backyard fire scenario. Light bulb heads. Do you guys hire local workers or virtual ones when you get busy? I'll answer this first for me. I don't do any virtual assistance type of stuff. I just don't. I guess I could. I probably need one, some kind of assistant virtually. But for me, I've got helpers here, and I'm actually getting a third helper here because I'm just slammed. I mean, with everything going on, it gets crazy. And like right now today, I mean, I don't know how many eBay orders we got going out and website orders. I was packaging up all day before I got with Pete, and Pete was like, "Yeah, I got stuff going on too." And it's just you get crazy with it all, but you can only do so much as one person. So that time will come if you're moving up and you're going, "Hey, okay, now I got a little bit of money to go. Maybe I got to hire an employer, maybe get a friend or a family member to help you." Because you start to source more stuff and you get more stuff listed, stuff starts selling. You're like, man, it's working pretty good. But Pete, do you do you hire local workers? Obviously, I think you do. But do you do any virtual assistant stuff?
No virtual assistants for me here. It's all local people. And actually, I love employing local people. If I can keep the money right here and help somebody out here locally, I'll definitely do that versus virtual assistant.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Let's see here. I think that's going to answer them all up. There was two more here, and they were related to Craigslist. One from the accounting guy. This is directed right at you, Pete. Hey guys, I have alerts set up like divorced, moving out of the country, must sell today. Do you use keywords like that where you're trying to, pull up alerts like with if this and that to get something automated where it goes to your phone when an item hits the Craigslist?
Yeah, I do use some alerts that. But honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't pick up a whole lot of stuff from those alerts. A lot of times there will be so many scams, going on. They just want, you answer the phone call, you answer the email, and that's all they want. They want your phone number and they want your email address. So I don't have a whole lot of success with the alerts. No.
And then Steve Q here says, how do you set up email alerts? Does it send you emails? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can use that. It's called If This Then That. It's IFTT.com, and you can set up your own little recipes, which are kind of customizable search parameters. So if you're looking for concert T-shirts or a vintage Barbie, any keyword you can put into these things, and you're going to get email alerts. You can break it down per the area of Craigslist you're searching for, or state, or even throughout the whole United States, stuff like that. Here's a question I've got for you, Pete. 'Cause I do a lot of sniping. I go online and I find things. I mean, really, these days, I believe some of these websites are really becoming the new thrift store, the new, man, there's deals there every day. Do you do any sniping? I mean, are you on eBay looking for stuff that you're like, man, yeah, I can get that for 10 and flip it over here for 50?
Not very often, but I do occasionally. When I have a little bit of time, just remember, guys, when I'm running my store here and just regular hustling every day, when I finally get home, I try not to sit on my computer and look at eBay for next 2-3 hours and searching for things. But occasionally, here and there, yes, I will snipe things, especially when I'm doing some research on something else, and I will come across something, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, why is this guy selling this for this much?" And yeah, that particular moment, boom, right there, I will buy it and flip it. I think I have it even in one of my videos, a month back or so. One of the items that I sniped off the eBay, it was like a rangefinder that I picked up for like $40, and I flipped it right on eBay for $100. So there's opportunities there for sure. I mean, if you don't have any other way of sourcing, yeah, that eBay could be a great place to sit down at 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and when nobody's bidding, and you can get some score, definitely.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's been part of my game for a long time because I've got these niches, and with these niches, it's not like I can just go find some of the stuff in a thrift store. I've got to, keep up these storefronts and, offering certain products. Like, for example, action figures. I mean, where can I go every day and find 1986 G.I. Joes? I know where I can go. I can definitely go on eBay, and it seems like every hour or 2 hours or something. And then Pete said it, at 3 in the morning, you're going to find some crazy deals. And there's always people selling stuff, guys. I mean, whether they're resellers or they're newbies or they're professional sellers that are just dumping stuff. I mean, we live in a world right now where, cash is king. And, I'm sure Pete's been around like that, and I've been around where we've got money in a product, and like, hey, yeah, we had it at the higher end. We're going to try to blow it out now, and we just move on. But we're still making money at it. It's just, it's just moving money is what this whole game is about. So, all right, guys, if you guys have any other questions, let us know. Pete, I mean, are you okay to? I mean, you're in your shop there, right?
Yeah.
Can you hang out for like maybe? I mean, you got to go pretty soon out of your shop, or what's your intentions? All right. No. Well, I mean, if any of you guys want, I mean, me and Peter in this little hangout here. I can put the link in the Facebook group Resellers Roundtable. You can come in, and if you got a camera, or even if you don't have a camera, you got a mic, maybe you can chit chat with us. Are you okay with that, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just gonna hang out for a little bit.
Somebody wants to join. Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. So if you're a member of Resellers Roundtable, I'll post a link there in about 2 minutes from the show ending, and we can chit chat. If you're not, just ask to join. It's Facebook Resellers Roundtable. You can just go in there, and I'll see if you request to join. You can jump in and talk. It's going to get full, so we're not going to have. We can only have room for 100 people. But I really want to thank you, Pete, for taking some time out of your busy day, especially on a Sunday too, kind of the day off thing, to come and do this interview with me. I had a blast doing this, even though I got my hand burned and stuff like that. But it's always interesting to talk to another full-time reseller, especially somebody who's successful as you, Pete, with your storefront and being part of the old kind of neighborhood where I was from. So this was really an honor for me to have this interview with you here for sure. Guys, if you want to check out more of Pete, for sure, there's going to be links below after the video. Go check him out on Facebook and YouTube. You can also check out the Resellers Roundtable Facebook group. And then again, Tuesdays with Andrew, Pete, and myself. We're going to be there every Tuesday for you guys, putting on videos, live shows, answering questions, and with different topics, and just being ourselves and just doing what we do. So, Pete, I'm going to give you the final word here before we end it, man.
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed it. I love sharing all that information. If I can help somebody out, especially somebody new trying to get into this game, you guys can always hit me up, on my Facebook through the Messenger, or ask questions, on YouTube, or message me on YouTube. Any way I can help. Great, really, Mike, appreciate it for actually doing this, because it's just real, and I know you, and I know, for example, Andrew as well. This is the real stuff we talk about, so I love sharing that kind of information, and thanks for having me on, really.
Yeah, awesome, man. It's been my honor for sure. If you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you think this is cool and you want to share it to your friends, do that as well. But we're going to get out of here, guys. We'll be in the Facebook group. We're going to have a little hangout for a while. And again, thank you guys for watching. Again, for Pete for participating. It's been fun. Had a blast. So we'll see you guys next time. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.